Stability should feel like relief, calm, safety, ease. But for many people who have lived under financial stress for years, stability feels uncomfortable, sometimes even unbearable. They finally have savings, predictable income, breathing room, and instead of peace, they feel restless, uneasy, on edge. They don't understand why. They assume something is wrong with them. It isn't. What they're experiencing is not ingratitude. It's not boredom. It's not self-sabotage. It's nervous system conditioning. Let's start with the core truth. Long-term financial stress rewires the body, not metaphorically, physiologically. When money has been tight for a long time, the nervous system adapts. Hypervigilance becomes normal. Urgency becomes default. Stress becomes baseline. The body learns to survive in chaos, and survival mode doesn't shut off just because circumstances improve. Now let's talk about familiarity. Stress is exhausting, but it's familiar. You know how to function inside it. You know what's expected. You know how to respond. Stability, on the other hand, is unfamiliar. There's no emergency to manage, no fire to put out, no immediate problem demanding attention. And for a nervous system trained on crisis, that silence feels threatening. The body asks, what am I missing? What's about to go wrong? Why is it quiet? This creates anxiety, not because something is wrong, but because something is wrong, but because something is different. Now let's talk about identity. When someone lives under financial stress for years, stress becomes part of identity. I'm someone who hustles. I'm someone who survives. I'm someone who pushes through. That identity is reinforced daily. Stability threatens it. If life becomes calm, who are you? What gives you purpose? What gives you momentum? What gives you validation? So the discomfort isn't about money. It's about identity erosion. Now let's talk about the loss of adrenaline. Stress releases adrenaline and cortisol. These chemicals keep you alert, focused, driven. When stability arrives, those chemicals drop. This can feel like low energy, lack of motivation, emptiness, restlessness. People mistake this for laziness or depression. It's withdrawal. The body is adjusting to a lower stress baseline. Now let's talk about time perception. Under stress, time feels compressed. You're always reacting, always behind, always rushing. When stability arrives, time expands. Days feel longer, moments stretch. This expansion can feel uncomfortable. Without urgency, people feel exposed to their own thoughts, and that can be unsettling. Now let's talk about control. Stress creates the illusion of control. You're constantly doing something, fixing something, responding to something. Stability removes that illusion. There's less to fix, so people feel less useful. This can trigger a sense of purposelessness. Now let's talk about the urge to create chaos. Some people unconsciously recreate stress. They overspend, they overcommit, they start unnecessary projects. They create financial complexity, not because they want pain, but because their nervous system is seeking the familiar. Chaos feels safe. Calm feels foreign. Now let's talk about guilt. Many people feel guilty when stability arrives. Others are still struggling. Others are still stressed. So calm feels undeserved. This guilt can drive self-disruption. Now let's talk about the myth that peace is automatic. Peace is not the absence of stress. It's the presence of regulation. And regulation is learned. Now let's talk about how people actually adjust to stability. Not by forcing calm, not by shaming discomfort, not by rushing growth, but by allowing adaptation. They let stability exist without immediately filling it. They build new routines. They find meaning beyond survival. They slowly redefine identity. Now let's talk about pacing again. Stability must be integrated gradually. Sudden calm after long chaos can feel overwhelming. Small pockets of calm build tolerance. Now let's talk about rebuilding motivation. Motivation fueled by fear disappears when fear leaves. That's normal. New motivation must come from curiosity, values, and choice. This takes time. Now let's talk about the final misunderstanding. People think discomfort and stability means they're doing something wrong. It means they're healing. Healing feels strange because chaos was normal. Now let's talk about the long view. If you stay in stability long enough, something shifts. The nervous system recalibrates. Calm becomes familiar. Stress loses its grip. But only if you don't run back to chaos. Now let's close with the deepest truth. Stability feels uncomfortable after years of financial stress because your body learned a different language. You're not broken. You're adapting. And adaptation requires patience. Stability isn't boring. It's spacious. And space takes time to feel safe. If you don't rush to fill it, if you don't punish yourself for restlessness, if you don't confuse discomfort with danger, stability becomes the foundation you never had. And from that foundation, progress no longer feels frantic. It feels intentional, quiet, sustainable. And once that happens, money finally stops being something you survive and becomes something you build from. There's another reason stability feels uncomfortable that most people never connect to money. Stability removes distraction. When finances are stressful, your attention is consumed. Bills, deadlines, urgency, firefighting. That constant noise keeps deeper questions at bay. When stability arrives, the noise fades, and in that quiet, unresolved thoughts surface. Questions about direction, questions about meaning, questions about whether the life you're building actually fits. This can feel unsettling. Not because stability is wrong, but because it exposes parts of life that were previously drowned out by survival. Now let's talk about emotional backlog. Years of financial stress don't disappear when income improves. They accumulate. Unprocessed fear, suppressed disappointment, deferred exhaustion. Stability creates space for these emotions to emerge. People mistake this emergence for regression. It isn't. It's release. Now let's talk about the nervous system again, but practically. A nervous system trained on crisis expects spikes. When spikes don't come, it searches for them. That search shows up as restlessness, overthinking, compulsive checking, unnecessary worry. This doesn't mean something is wrong. It means the system hasn't recalibrated yet. Recalibration takes repetition. Calm, experienced over time, becomes safe. Now let's talk about productivity guilt. In survival mode, productivity is praised. You're busy. You're grinding. You're doing something. When stability arrives, productivity slows naturally, and many people feel guilty. They equate rest with irresponsibility, calm with laziness, ease with weakness. This belief keeps people trapped. But calm is not laziness. It's efficiency without panic. Now let's talk about the urge to speed up again. Some people feel uncomfortable with stability because it feels like stagnation. They worry, if I slow down, I'll lose momentum. If I'm not stressed, I'm falling behind. So they manufacture urgency. They set aggressive goals. They take unnecessary risks. They overload their lives. This feels productive, but it often recreates the very stress they worked so hard to escape. Now let's talk about learning to trust calm. Trusting calm is a skill. It means allowing days to pass without drama, allowing finances to be boring, allowing progress to be slow and steady. This trust is built, not decided. Now, let's talk about the moment things shift. For many people, it happens quietly. One day they notice they didn't check their account compulsively. They didn't panic at a small expense. They didn't feel the need to fix something. Nothing dramatic happened, but internally, safety increased. That's recalibration. Now let's talk about redefining safety. For a long time, safety meant being alert, being prepared, being tense. Eventually, safety becomes being predictable, being buffered, being steady. That transition takes patience. Now let's talk about the final integration. Stability is not an endpoint, it's a platform. From stability, people can choose growth instead of chasing it. They can plan instead of react. They can enjoy instead of endure. But only if they let stability settle. Now let's close with the most important reminder. If stability feels uncomfortable after years of financial stress, that discomfort is not a warning sign. It's a sign that your system is learning a new way to exist. And learning always feels awkward before it feels natural. So don't rush, don't judge, don't recreate chaos just to feel familiar. Let calm teach you. Over time, stability stops feeling empty, stops feeling boring, stops feeling suspicious. It starts to feel strong, quietly strong, and from that strength, everything else becomes easier. Not because life has no problems, but because you're no longer living in constant survival. And that is a kind of wealth no number can replace.